now beginning my third day in Seoul. It's going to be quieter than the last few. I've been very, very flat out the last 2 days, so we'll take it easier today. We're going to check out the war memorial, I think. Those sorts of things. It's in a different area of Seoul, so we'll go check it out. Hey, welcome to the National War Memorial of Korea. Oh, that's a symbolization of South Korea and North Korea. In the hopes of unification. It's actually a lot larger than I had thought, I'll admit. It's the whole building. Wow. And my dad's gonna love seeing those little planes and stuff over that side, so I'll indulge him. Alrighty, let's check out the monument at the front and then we'll head in. And these are all the countries that I believe would have participated in the Korean War as part of the UN. In fact, there's actually information on each of them. I'm curious about the Australia one. Let's go have a little read. Honestly, all the countries involved is quite interesting to actually have a read of. Wow. Okay, let's head on in. We'll be light on the recording on the way inside, I think. So it's not just for the Korean War, it goes all the way back to the Three Kingdoms period as well. Oh, very cool. I do actually know bits about Korean history already, mainly this Three Kingdoms period. Sort of what happened afterwards that I know a bit less about. But my understanding is they were unified and then they split back into 3 groups. Again, really cool history. I think this is Seoul, because you've got the main palace there, the mountains that's behind it, and I think that's probably the gate that I passed on my first day. That's really cool. But as you can see, it's quite a bit smaller than what it is now. Kingdoms just sort of went backwards and forwards between, alliances and betrayals, until eventually one of them allied with China, or the Tang dynasty at the time, and that's what eventually united them. But then they decided to try to take the whole Korean peninsula as well, but they were eventually kicked out shortly later. So the first unified Korea was around 675. It didn't last particularly long. But they originally did the alliance to stop the other 2, but then when they were betrayed, remnants of all 3 ended up working together to kick them out. So it's strange how things work out like that. But very interesting. It's the way military alliances go. It's just giving me a complete full history of Korea. Oh, this is so they've had such an interesting history. Like, I knew parts of this, but I'm getting so much more from this. Wowee. I've seen these things before. I believe it's a hwacha. Am I right? Fine arrow launcher. I believe it's called a hwacha. Those really cool weapons, to be honest. Unrelated. I receive so many public alerts on my phone. Latest one has been a civil defense drill, which they actually just announced here. It's kind of worrying that that's a regular occurrence here. It's needed, I guess. There's so much more here than I expected. Like, seriously. Alrighty. Ooh. Korea was at a severe disadvantage when this began. And this is actually the Han River, main river in Seoul. Pushed right to the edge. And then UN involvement stopped them from being in that little corner of Korea. So they were pushed to the brink around Nakdong River, defended it for 45 days before the invasion of Incheon, which is just next to Seoul. And that basically broke the North Koreans and sent them back north. But it still went on for another 3 years. That was only 3 months. They ended up making their way north, capturing Pyongyang. Was going to make it all the way to unify, but promises of Chinese involvement dashed those hopes. And basically, I believe that turned into a 3-year stalemate to the current lines we've got today. 2 years worth of stalemated fights. And then it was just building up the 38th parallel, which is why it's become one of the most dangerous border regions in the world at the moment. To the matter, it is, war may have ended in 1953, but it's not over. Oh, okay, we got one more stop and then I've spent a lot more time here than I expected, nearly 3 hours. They also sent a lot of troops to Vietnam during the Vietnam War because it was arguably a similar conflict. The difference being the North was successful, mainly because of the solidarity of the people against the odds. It's just amazing to me as well that back in before the Korean War, Korea was probably one of the more poorest countries in the world at the time. But ever since then, they've grown and endured and become, frankly, a powerhouse. I guess that's part of the reason why I love being here so much, to be fair. Alright, I think it's time to get going. Check out some of the outside stuff. Another couple of rooms to check out, so I was here for a very long time. Okay, now we can make our way out. I was not expecting to spend nearly 3 hours there. That was incredibly interesting. It covered everything. Kind of don't mind days like this, especially after the last 2 days. I don't know, I was going to go to the National Museum, but to be honest, after that, I don't think I really need to. I mean, that covered all the military side of things, which is where I'm more interested in. The cultural side of things, not as much, but I mean, that's what the other museum will cover. We'll see. Alrighty.